I would like to thank the Honor Guard from the American Legion Post 224. They did a wonderful job. Thank them so much. And it is my pleasure to introduce Mayor Barry Brickner from the City of Farmington Hills.
Welcome to the Stars and Stripes Forever celebration. Thank you for joining us. The City of Farmington Hills strongly supports its military population and has the utmost gratitude and respect for all men and women who have bravely and selflessly served their country. At the next City Council meeting on November the 10th, we will be presenting a special proclamation and declaring Farmington Hills a Purple Heart City. During the month of November, we will fly a Purple Heart flag next to the American flag in front of the City Hall. I'd like to thank today's keynote speaker, William Holcomb, and his wife, Diane, for spearheading the Purple Heart City designation. The Purple Heart is the oldest military decoration in present use. It was originally created as the badge of military merit by General George Washington in 1782. The Purple Heart Medal is awarded to members of the armed forces who have been wounded or paid the ultimate sacrifice in combat with a declared enemy of the United States of America. William Holcomb received his Purple Heart for wounds he received while on a tour of duty in Vietnam. Today we are here to recognize and honor not only our Purple Heart recipients, but all of our veterans for their courage, their sacrifice, and for the big part they have played in giving us the freedom and quality of life that we enjoy today in the United States of America. Thank you for joining us here at the Stars and Stripes Forever celebration. Have a really good time. I know there's a lot of events that will be going on after lunch. Enjoy yourselves, and thank you for the service you've given to our country.
Now I'd like to introduce Mayor of Farmington, Bill Galvin. Thank you.
Thank you, Marcia. Good morning. Thank you for allowing me to speak today. I'm honored to stand up here in front of the men and women who have served our country. I've never been a member of the military. Can you hear me better now? I've never been a member of the military. I understand the service, the commitment, and the sacrifices made by our veterans, but I admit that I do not fully appreciate it. I grew up a privileged lifestyle during a period of time that saw very few military conflicts. My family and I continue to live that lifestyle here in Farmington. It is because of the service and the sacrifices made by you that I can say I grew up in a time of peace. In today's world, it seems like we are in a constant state of conflict around the world. Our way of life, our freedom, is constantly being challenged and attacked. You were there, you know this better than I do. Many of you are recipients of the Purple Heart. Every recipient of the Purple Heart is a walking history lesson. Your service, your commitment, and personal sacrifice is the best example of why we need to fight for our freedom. On behalf of all the citizens of the City of Farmington, I thank you for protecting our freedom. Enjoy your Veterans Day.
And now I have the distinct pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker, William Holcomb, a 40-year resident of Farmington Hills. Bill grew up in Detroit and graduated from Redford High. He was drafted into the Army in 1966. He was, of course, a Purple Heart recipient from injuries he sustained in Vietnam in 1967. Bill has been married to Diane for 43 years, and their only child, daughter, Sarah, is a student at the University of Michigan. Bill has achieved his bachelor's degree from Wayne State University. He retired from General Motors 14 years ago as a powertrain application engineer in the Corvette Group. He is currently commander of his VFW post 345 in Redford. He enjoys golf, deer hunting, building handicap ramps for those less fortunate. Please help me welcome Bill.
This is scary. Welcome. Thank you, Marcia, Mayor Brickner, and Mayor Galvin. I want to welcome everyone here today as we take time to reflect on those who have served our great country. I'm humbled and honored to represent our military soldiers who've been awarded the Purple Heart. My military story starts as an 18-year-old just graduating from Redford High School in February of 1966. Like most high school graduates, we all had a draft classification of 1A, as there was no draft lottery then. I was inducted into the Army in August 1966 at Fort Wayne in Detroit. We were all told to report to Fort Wayne at 8 a.m., and I was sworn in as a military soldier after a very, very minimal medical evaluation. After being inducted, we were told to return home and come back at 7 p.m. since our train wasn't scheduled to leave till then. They really trusted all of us to return after being inducted. Because I was an Eagle Scout, they gave me all of the new soldiers' records to keep while in transit on the train, and I was directed to deliver them to the sergeant in charge when we arrived at Fort Knox, Kentucky the next day. Upon our arrival at Fort Knox, we were all given an empty box to put our clothes and other possessions in so they could be shipped back home. My new Army clothes were all olive drab green, including my socks and underwear. They charged us 65 cents for our Army haircut, and everyone looked the same afterwards, almost bald. The boys with shoulder-length hair were crying their eyes out, since long hair was the fashion of the 60s. The long-haired recruits held back to the end, and the barbers would ask them how they want their hair cut. No matter what they said, the barbers would take the electric razors right down the center of their heads and in front of everyone. So they got their buzz right off the bat. My new jewelry was 2 dog tags, and I was always to wear them around my neck, one to stay with me forever, and the other to be used to notify my family if I died in the line of duty. There were limited computers then for recording military data, and we were required to memorize our service ID number. And I don't think any of us ever forget it. Mine's US 54954-366. I found the 10 weeks of basic training similar to Boy Scout camp. We learned survival skills and marksmanship. During the last week of training, I was finishing a confidence course when I jumped off a 10-foot platform and broke both of my ankles. My fellow soldiers carried me around for the rest of the week, and then I was sent to Fort Polk, Louisiana. I completed my advanced job training there after I could walk without the crutches again. I was sent to Vietnam in February 1967. I was 19 years old, and I became part of the 2nd of the 32nd Artillery Division, stationed a few miles outside of Pleiku in the Central Highlands, not too far south of North Vietnam. I received a sleeping bag, and I wondered why I would need this, till I discovered it snowed at night. It was a dry season, and it never rained the first couple of months. Everything was so dry that the soil was several inches of talcum powder-like dust. Then the rainy season came, and it would rain every day about 4:00 p.m. It rained so hard that the ground became a foot deep of sticky mud, and we had snow chains on our truck tires, or we couldn't even move them. The rain was so loud we had to shout into each other's ears just to talk to each other. And the deep ditches on the side of the road would go from empty to filled with rainwater to the top. We were stationed on Artillery Hill with a huge religious cross on top of it, which was left there by the French soldiers years before. My job was to keep our field company supplied with whatever they required, and I helped load ammunition into trucks that were supporting our field units. Usually we would start loading trucks at night and continue for several hours. There would be 2 of us per 90-pound box, each holding 2 105-millimeter shells carried by 2 rope handles. I weighed 120 pounds then, and everyone had to help to keep that assembly line process going. I was wounded in a nighttime mortar attack on June 9th, 1967. As I was laying down, it caused shrapnel injuries to my stomach, my left leg, left foot, and hand. The soldier whom I had replaced had left a small refrigerator in my area, and it shielded my head and shoulders from further shrapnel wounds. And luckily for me, it took some of the force of the mortar's impact. I was soon airlifted to a field mass unit where they operated on me. To this day, I'll always remember the dedication of those doctors and nurses and how they saved my life. I spent several days there before being flown to an intensive care unit at a military hospital some 200 miles east in Quy Nhon in Vietnam at the South China Sea coast. I spent 3 weeks there and then was flown to Tokyo, Japan for another month at another U.S. military hospital before being transported back to Fort Knox, Kentucky for further hospitalization. After several months of being hospitalized, I was finally cleared to resume my military duty. I was then assigned to Fort Dix, New Jersey in January of 1968 to continue my military career with a transportation company supporting airborne rangers at West Point Military Academy for their summer cadet training exercises. These airborne troops were the cadets' enemy soldiers. Upstate New York is a beautiful place, and the countryside I was assigned to is much different than the place and dangers in Vietnam. I almost wanted to stay there when I got done with the service. I completed my military service in August of 1968, and I returned home to Detroit. Vietnam veterans received little fanfare on their return home. However, I would often wear my military Army field jacket. One day, shortly after my return from Vietnam, while walking down the street, an unmarked brown Ford made an emergency stop in front of me. 2 men jumped out of the car and hollered, "FBI!" As they detained me, they said they were searching for an Army deserter. And they showed me a picture of a guy over 6 feet tall and over 200 pounds. I thought, yeah, these guys, they really needed to stop me, So after questioning, they left not knowing that I was a disabled veteran. After leaving the military, I was hired by General Motors at the Detroit Diesel Heavy-Duty Truck Engine Corporation. I later transferred to General Motors Powertrain Division and worked on several engine programs till I retired with 30 years of service in 2000. My last assignment was an application engineer for powertrain on the 5th generation Corvette program. I was able to use my GI Bill and attain my bachelor's degree from Wayne State University, which really helped me in my professional life. I'm currently the commander of my VFW post, number 345 in Redford, located at the corner of Inkster Road and the I-96 Expressway. All veterans are greatly respected now, and I'm proud to wear my VFW uniform, and I wear my winter VF jacket regularly. Due to my exposure to Agent Orange while in Vietnam, I've had open heart surgery with 5 bypasses. I've had prostate cancer. I'm being monitored for type 2 diabetes, and these are 3 health issues that many Vietnam veterans suffer. After 46 years of being wounded, staying healthy is still a concern for me. I'm proud to have served my country and helped to protect our freedom for the generations to come. I honor those who fought with me, especially those who worked in the hospitals on the front line and who saved me. I'm grateful today to have lived a full life following the fateful day in 1967. Every veteran here today has a story to tell about their military life, and we honor each other with our presence and support. Thank you for inviting me to share my personal military story with you today.